You're listening to the HBI podcast, health, business, and in between, physio, chiro, and myotherapy. Please welcome your host, the chiro, Nathan Bridger.
I adjusted people on Christmas Day.
The physio, Ben Humphris.
My hair's growing back, my eyebrows are back, mate, I'm good.
And the myotherapist, Mina Garris.
We can't change body parts, but we can strengthen them.
All right, and we are back already. Episode 4, HBI podcast, health, business, and in between. And following up on the series, today we are going to be interviewing the big man himself. He looks like he's trying to have a sleep while he's on the mic, Mr. Ben Humphris. How we doing, Ben?
Hey,
you doing
mate.
well? And I'm, of course,
good, How you doing?
always joined as well by the chocolate legend himself, Mr. Mina Garris. How are you, brother?
Thank you, Mr. Bridger.
And how's that new clinic going, mate? I know we've talked about it all the time. By the time we probably put this up, it's going to be a year old. But how is it going?
Look, clinic's going really well. It's growing week on week. The support from clients, family, friends has been fantastic. And I have someone at the door.
Well, we're going to ignore Mina for a second. Look at that. That's
all good. Just the posting.
if you're watching, we're going to have to put some kind of like visual disturbance warning on this, trying to follow you, mate. It's like watching Lock Stock when they're running through the streets here. Well, Benny, I think today's episode's all about, obviously we spoke about chiropractic last week, myotherapy before. Jeez, we're struggling this morning, aren't we? But it's time to delve into everybody's favorite, physiotherapy. So let's hear a little bit about your background. I think is where we want to start and what led you to become a physiotherapist.
Alrighty, so like as most people probably know, a physio, like how we broke it down, it's just like a physical therapist. So most people know what a physio is. They've been around for a long time, and we mainly deal with, I guess, injuries, assessment, some sort of treatment, and definitely designing good rehab programs to make sure the injury is fixed appropriately. But a bit about me, I'm 26. I'm from country New South Wales. I went straight from school, straight to uni. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something in relation to sports, whether that be a PE teacher, a coach. I was thinking of being some sort of soccer coach because I love soccer. But then they were offering physiotherapy like half an hour from home at a uni. My mate was doing it. He's like, "Oh, this is pretty good." I go, "Well, if I get the marks, hopefully I can, I'll apply and get in for it." And luckily enough, I went through I went to Charles Sturt. So they had an early entry scheme, which means you get offered a spot before the actual main round ATARs and shit come out. So luckily I did that because my ATAR was 78 and actually wasn't high enough to get into physio. So I got in based off a principal's recommendation, an essay, and a few other bullshit things. So I got in sort of scraping the barrel. And then, here you go.
No, go. No, I was going to say not a lot's changed, but go on.
Yeah. Especially with this beard, it's a shocker. I need to get it all shaved off.
You look like you're about to churn my butter, mate. Like, I should start calling you Ezekiel Humphris. Kane or Ezekiel. So then, our course was definitely set up for more a hospital-based physio, and a physio that was really not well trained at all for private practice. So basically, by the end of my 4 years, which I sort of ended up half-assing, got just scraped into a credit average. I almost come through just a pass. Did really well at my anatomy, biomechanics, and my physio subjects, but that didn't even make up a lot of our course, unfortunately. So I ended up having 1,200 hours hospital experience under my belt by the time I finished my course, and 0 hours private practice experience. And I knew for sure I didn't want to do hospital work, and I definitely wanted to do private practice, but I knew I was shit. So I was like, fuck, I'm in trouble here. Do you think that's pretty universal across all the health disciplines? Because I know as a chiropractor, we got very little, let's say, because chiropractic's almost 99.9% private practice, but yet there's very little
practice experience. There's a little bit of business units and basics, but it's, I guess with us, we kind of just know it's part of the parcel, but you get no training on it. Do you think it's the same for physio, osteo, myo in terms of training as well?
Yeah, I can't talk about the others. So I'm not sure about their like Mina's myo and osteopathy and stuff, but 100%. They did a really good thing with the dentists who were over to uni, where they would have dental clinic from like second year all the way through to fifth year, where they would treat like in the clinic that the uni had. They would treat like Gen Pop people coming through, so they had a lot of face-to-face private experience built into their course, but we had none. So I'd find that like one of the big recommendations I would recommend for course changes and that sort of thing would be implementing like private practice settings and actual like treating of Gen Pop people within the course, rather than like getting to the end and being fucking useless.
Just sort of go for it. That's weird. Like, so you didn't have like a student clinic on campus or anything like that?
No,
Crazy.
The course was only 3 years old by the time I went through.
Yeah.
So there wasn't even obviously it was a rural, so in Orange. So there was like, I don't know, there might have been 50 people in my year to start with. And then it would have finished with maybe 30, 35. So like, it wasn't big, like, because Orange is only 40,000 people.
Yeah.
And it was a new course. So I think they're making changes every year. So maybe they've got shit up and running by now, but like, it definitely wasn't designed well and didn't spit out very good private practice physios.
Do you know if like other universities that offer physiotherapy have more private practice setting in their structure?
I don't know, to be honest. Like, I know physios trained in Melbourne definitely come out much better than what I came out. So whether they have way more
better in what kind? Better in terms of
physiotherapy,
private practice, or better in terms of what?
Better musculoskeletal assessment skills and some sort of treatment skills, and definitely more strength and conditioning based rehab, rather than like, man, as I said, like I had just all the simple shit and pretty poor assessment skills, very poor treatment skills, and very average rehab skills. Like, I was good in my uni, but that didn't fucking count for much because I was surrounded by other bogans like myself.
Yeah, the smartest kid
So
in year
Benny,
seven.
knowing that, how did you, so knowing all that and experiencing all that, what made that transition from, the in-house, hospital physio to kind of where you've come to today, being in a clinic environment? What made that switch for you?
Oh man, a lot's changed, and the main, like I deal like you guys, when you deal with like top level athletes and stuff, and people who play decent level sports, they're usually quite good at whatever they put their mind to. Like, people that are exposed to a high level of stress and training and pain and all that sort of thing. So I played decent level like state soccer back in New South Wales. So I wanted to be good at what I did. I wanted to be proud of who I was and proud of my job, and I wanted to be known for like getting people results. And I knew when I came out, I was no good at assessing. I couldn't even tell you what was wrong with you. I had 2 hours of massage my whole course, so I didn't know how to put my hands on you either. And as I said before, I had a pretty poor understanding of strength and conditioning rehab and training principles and periodization and all that sort of shit. So what led me to all the mentoring and training and shit that I have now was just, I wanted to be good at what I did. I wanted people to come and pay a price for the service, and I wanted the service to deliver on those expectations. I didn't want to be known for like what a lot of physios are known for these days, is like, you go in and have a chat, you might work out what's wrong with them or thereabouts, you might build some shitty rehab on a little bit of paper and say, go do this and come back and see me next week. I didn't want to be like traditionally shit like most physios are, and it's like, it's still set back in the 1990s. Like, as there's like some stat I read somewhere where it takes 17 years to transition from research papers to practice. And like, we all work in the medical field, we all know how slow it is to adapt. And we're in 2019, for fuck's sake. Like, it's about time there's been some hybridization and some physios actually getting back to the old roots of actually manual therapy, rather than trying to be strict evidence, exercise based only.
Yeah. Good
Nice,
answer.
man. That's yeah. And so what, like, in your like rough estimate, and I'm sure it's gonna be hard, what do you think the split for physiotherapy is, let's say in Australia, between private practice and hospital practice, and then within that, those that are more manual versus those that are more hands off?
Yeah, like you said, I don't have like rough figures, but I'm pretty sure I looked up some stats the other day. There's something like there's 32 or 33,000 physios in Australia at the moment, with about 1,500 or so being pumped out every year. So there's like a good quick maths, like 7,500, 8,000 people in training as it stands, that are about to come out. So I can't really remember this stats on how many there are in private practice versus hospitals, but because I don't know, there's definitely more females in hospitals, that's for sure, and there's definitely more female physios than males. But the split, I'd say roughly would be maybe like 40% in a hospital and maybe 60% private practice. Because like the scope's huge.
Than I would have thought.
There's like you've got like geriatrics, you've got community-based physio, you've got obviously disabilities and that sort of thing, like working with pediatrics. There's a lot of like you, there's a big scope for what we do. Like we work in hospitals, we can work everywhere.
Yeah.
We can work as occupational health and safety fucking consultants and all that sort of shit as well. So like I would say private practice does make up the most percentage wise, but then you've got hospitals next, which then would be followed by probably some sort of geriatrics or something like that stage.
Well, I guess the follow-up one to that one. Sorry, I'm gonna hold on that train for a second. Do you think the reason that there is still a rather large percentage in hospital, and then secondarily, I know from my experience speaking to other physios, that a lot of physio is based as like you're an employee of physio, whereas 90% of chiropractic, I'm not sure about myotherapy, is like subcontractor based style. So
contractual based. Yeah.
Do you think that having that safety net of, say, a job or hospital based, that means that a lot of people are allowed to get by with, say, not substandard skills, but without a drive to really improve?
Yeah, 100%. That's a good question, because that's humans, right? That's not just in our industries, but 100%. If you for one aren't happy with your job, you're just going to cruise by and do the bare minimum, right? Because it doesn't matter how hard you work or how little you work. If you're on a salary, you're getting paid fucking regardless, whether you put a lot of effort in or not. Now, that doesn't mean if you are on a salary, don't work hard, because obviously working hard is rewarded most times and recognised by promotions and obviously building a big client base and a good reputation, all that sort of shit. But you're right, 100% right in saying that. I believe that salaries in general do, I guess, allow people to cruise a little bit more, because especially when there's in a work environment where you're not rewarded for your efforts. So
there's a lack of incentive. In
a way, suppression. Yeah, it's a suppression in a way that will make you think, well, even if I do work really hard, what's the point? I'm not getting recognised for it anyway, so I may as well do the bare minimum, because that's easier for me, and I don't get disappointed when I'm not recognised or I'm not acknowledged for the hard work I'm doing. You need actually a good boss who goes, fuck Nate, you're doing a fantastic job. You're supplying a lot of the clients that are coming directly through you, like the revenue from the clinics generated heavily by you only. Like, fuck, because of that, here's a promotion. And you're like, shit, yeah, I've been recognised. I'm going to work even harder now and do an even better job, because you're then being rewarded for your efforts, which is super important. And then going back on the manual therapy physio versus the physio who's strict or not strict, or more, I guess, exercise based, because we're not taught
more hands off. Let's say more hands off, because I would classify you as exercise based.
I'm heavily exercise based too. I advertise a lot of treatment, because guess what market's better? Treatment. Who doesn't want to see someone getting dry needle or cup? Like, I can stand up there and teach you how to do some basic external rotation and rehab for the shoulder, and just go through a few cueing for benching and all that sort of thing. But to me, what sells better, definitely to my audience, is like they want to see what's involved in the consult. And then it separates me from the rest anyway, because everyone else is doing rehab-based content. So I'd rather be seen treating.
So everybody wants to see me just be... Everyone wants to see me send it on people. Like, put them in the chair and adjust their neck. Everybody wants to see it, whether they like it or not. That's what people like.
I love it. It's attention grabbing. And you could, like, chiros are in such a good position to like advertise. Like, people love that shit.
Love it or hate it, but either way it gets likes.
Put it on content. Yeah, exactly right. And like, there's nothing wrong about it, but but yeah, the big thing is I wasn't taught how to massage. I had no private practice experience. So guess what? People are coming to pay for a service. They want a certain result. And look, if I'm incompetent at massaging and dry needling, I'm not going to do it, because I don't want to look like an idiot. And I want that client to come back. So, and I believe, so that's a big reason, one. And then two, the evidence, which a lot of people are pretty evidence-based these days. There's not a lot of evidence, strong evidence to support the use of modalities such as...
For the people who aren't watching the video here, I am hashtag, or what am I? Amsterdam. Fingers in the air.
And
quote.
Bunny ears, quotation marks.
Yeah, because if you ask like 1,000 people what is evidence-based practice, you're going to get 1,000 different answers.
Yeah, it's very subjective in a way. Like, you got to look at who funds the research and look at the big brands supporting it. And like, of course, data is going to be skewed their way, because if you're funding it, then you can kind of control
it's classic happens, bias. Right? And I mean, the other issue we have to talk about, and again, to anyone listening, we love research. I'm all about it. It's one of the most important things. But what we forget 100%. Is, especially with manual therapy, anything physical, the one thing you can't exclude in a randomized controlled trial, which is the thing they try to exclude, is humanity. Like, the way you're speaking to the person. Like, of course, no one intervention works in isolation, because no good practitioner uses one intervention.
It's not reality.
No. And so, like, of course. Right. And you're like, massage doesn't work, or dry needling doesn't work, or manipulation doesn't work. Yeah, cool. But what if it works well in conjunction with other things in the right practice? Like, it's baby bathwater kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Like, Mina could vouch pretty heavily there as well. Like, man, the techniques Mina's taught me, like, I for one, and Leah, the other Maya, I'm like, look, I've never seen cupping done before, and I think it's a bit woo-woo, but hey, I'm going to trial it. And I had it done to me. I'm like, fuck, this is actually really good. Like, I feel great after having it done. Like, I've never read anything that says this shit is good, but like, subjectively, the way I felt and the way my body moved afterwards, I'm like, man, why wouldn't you use this? It's just there's a lot of reluctance and hesitation because there's no evidence. So a lot of physios aren't risky enough to start delving outside, strict evidence. It's evidence-based. It's not law-based. It's not like you're being negligent. Like, you're still being safe, and you're still incorporating, like...
Sackett's triad is best available evidence, clinical experience, and what the patient's looking for, so patient expectation. It's a cool. Three-legged stool here. Sackett's triad of evidence-based practice. It's the three legs of the stool are best available evidence in conjunction with clinical experience and patient expectation. So 100%. That's if you work within all three of those, you're going to get best results. Now, some may be heavier leaned in a certain area, like we said, cupping. The best available evidence is limited, but clinical experience and patient expectation shows us that we're getting some results with it. So you're still behaving in an evidence-based manner, as long as there's a result.
100%.
So with like in the physio world, Ben, do they kind of, when you get taught, kind of a bit of physio, do they say, look, the treatment hands-on is not really that important. We more want you to do, the exercise aspects. Is that what you guys are kind of taught? Or how is the exercise, how is it not a 50-50 balance?
Well, look, I don't know the history of physiotherapy that well, but I'm assuming, like, a lot of, whether it comes from just like Nate said, the clinical experience, like traditionally older physios, I think, are more likely to do manual therapy with you, whereas quite young ones like myself or around this generation definitely don't do a whole lot of it. Whether that's just an old style of training or whether it's they've just learnt along the way that people will rebook if you actually fucking massage them.
Do you reckon
in a hospital experience, what would you experience in a hospital versus a clinic?
Yeah, so this is a good point. Look, I was legit halfway in my first year, and someone told me, the teacher said, all right, we've got a 1 week hospital experience coming up, work experience. I'm like, sorry, what? Why the fuck am I going to a hospital? I want to go out and like work with athletes. And they're like, all physios work in hospitals. I'm like, I've never seen a hip physio in a hospital because I've never been in for a long stay. And I was like, my family never was in and out of a hospital. So I never knew that actually physios worked in hospitals, whether it's just country bumpkin life and I just never saw it, or I was just completely like ignorant to it. But basically the difference between what you would do in a hospital. So hospitals have sectors or wards as such. So you've got cardiorespiratory, which is all heart and lung stuff. You've got orthopedics, which is like your hip replacements, your knee replacements, shoulder replacements, all that sort of shit. You've got like pediatrics, working with kids. You've got you've got your neurological wards where you work with stroke patients and like Guillain-Barré, all these like nervy and like neural and brain problems. So depending on what area you work in, and as a student, you go through all of the wards. You might work with a stroke patient to do like very low level rehab. You might be teaching someone how to roll over in bed because they've lost all motor function. They have to relearn how to roll, how to sit properly like a baby, man. Like some of them are reduced to nothing. It's really sad. And then you might work with someone who's just had their knee done. So you might be fucking walking them around and like getting them on the bike and shit. Or you might work with someone who's just had their some heart or cardiac surgery where you're actually getting them doing some breathing exercises and all that sort of shit. So they've got their role 100%, but it's nothing like dealing with acute sports injuries where you're managing someone's pain like through an injury rather than public system in a hospital.
Very multifaceted niche, isn't it?
Yeah. And jumping on that, as someone like I've seen physio in hospital because I had a significant burn injury a few years back. So I had like skin cell therapy on my arm, and part of the rehab was to go to the in-house physio in the hospital. And I remember I went for one session, like rolled in. There's a small old school little mini gym thing sitting there. I had a little program they'd done for me. Which I do like old school equipment, but this was a bit random. But like so I lived like 40 minutes away, drove all the way in, found a park, come in. I was like, sweet. So I'm here to do my rehab. She's like, cool. Here's the piece of paper, kind of like a personal trainer. She's like, you go do it. If you need me, I'll be over here. There's about 4 of us. There's like 4 of us in this thing doing it. And then at the end, she's like, sweet, so we'll see you later in the week. And I was like, listen, I'm just going to do it in the gym. Like, there's no point in me wasting my time coming here. Like, this was, like, and initially there was proper rehab. Like, in my first couple of days post-burn injury, I was with someone each day for like half an hour, just making sure I wouldn't get contraction, just moving through. Yeah. Which was really, really good. But, I mean, and to those physios' credit, like, it must be hard to get invested because most people, one, they're not paying. If they're not paying, they're very, people who don't pay are very less interested in the result.
That's right.
Too often they don't see haven't had the value explained to them by the doctor, and that that physio's got limited time. They're probably overbooked, and there's actually no requirement for them to get a result because, like I said before, they paid regardless. The patients are coming regardless. Like private practice, you got to get the result or people going. Like, and that's probably really like boring and disenchanting, man. Like, and I felt sorry for them. Like working there, and I'd see physio crew when I was younger from a rugby injury, which was stationed out of a hospital. And I still wonder to this day, because back then all treatment was just like ultrasound and electrotherapy. Everything you lay down there and they rubbed the placebo wand on you for 10 minutes. Then they did some other stuff. But And I wonder why, if that isn't the reason there's been the move away from manual therapy, that perhaps at some stage physio, and again, conjecture, was so heavily involved on these like, ultrasound, electro-TENS, things that are now proven to be pretty useless, that instead of just saying, well, those were things we banked on, we now know we were wrong, we'll use the other stuff, they just were like, everything's shit.
Yeah, like that's definitely a part of it. Like going back to what you said about when I did work in a hospital, it was like I was like you're busy as fuck every day, and I think they definitely do rely on students to offload like the public system. Like there's fucking students everywhere in the hospital, like physios, nurses, doctors, like occupational therapists. There's students everywhere doing like a lot of the work. They're like the worker bees almost in the hospital. Obviously needing supervision and stuff, but yeah, like as you said, it wasn't very a good impression of what physiotherapy was. You like end up. Sorry, you still there? Yeah, you end up. My phone stuffed up. You end up thinking, well, look, if that's how physio's been, then chances are they're probably going to do the same shit to me outside of a hospital in a private practice scene. So I'd rather handle it myself, just find out exactly what I need to do and not come back if I've got any problems. But you definitely didn't see them as like a manual therapist, that's for sure.
Yeah. And you definitely didn't see a requirement for, like, in your mind, they were just there to get you from A to B. You didn't see them getting you from A to Z, which I think is really, as a practitioners, that's where the beauty is taking not just someone out of a problem, but enhancing their life after it. And if they're not getting that opportunity in that system, then, like, it's just, I think people forget in the hospital system as well. Well, Benny's trying to do some lock stock on us as well.
Sorry.
Like your reflection on your entire industry, like as someone whose industry is known for having mad issues, like you're only held up by your weakest link. And if your weakest link has the biggest access to people, it's going to cause mad problems for you.
It's quite scary because you've got so many people going through the public system, and then that generation or that big population then forms the perception of a physio, And now I was actually with Maddie, the chiro, and I just had a little one-on-one, and I said to him, there's 10 people in this courtyard. I guarantee 10 out of 10 will know exactly what a physio is, but I bet you probably 2 out of 10 will know what a myo is.
Yeah.
So our these populations, these generations, they set the tone for physios coming up. Physios and osteos and chiros like us now, but I think we're evolving and setting that scene. And it's kind of really good, Benny, to see how you've migrated from your country town physio to your big city physio, where you're kind of leading the market with all your rehab and your treatments and looking out for other people like us and learning and being quite open-minded. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good to kind of see that transition. So,
thank you, bro.
There's, like you said, and I can't remember the actual number, but there's so many people in training, over 7,800 people nearly in training. What would you offer to these students? What advice would you say? Because there's so many niches that you just explained.
Oh, he's just on the.
My brother's here. Yeah.
Oh, classic Humphris. Just chatting, just family above friends.
No,
me and Mina will go back and forth, mate. You're all good.
Just chill for a bit. Yeah. Sorry, lads. Sorry, Mina, I cut you off there. I was being a bit of a rude dog. Going back to, you said of the amount of people in training, that's the part I got up to and I missed the rest.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people out there training. You said nearly 7,000 or 8,000 people that are in training at the moment, and all the different niches that you spoke about. What advice, because you get a lot of people following you, so you're setting a bit of a role model for future students. So what advice would you send out to all these people that are kind of trying to figure out their way?
There's a few big things if I had my time again, I would have rather someone at least told me, or at least the course did these things. There would be a more private practice incorporated into the course I'm doing. So guys, if you're not getting enough private practice experience and you definitely want to go down the road of being a private practice clinician, you need to go and outsource that shit yourself. You need to go put your hand up, go volunteer down to the local private practice, get around some good mentors, just start dipping your toe, in the water, just to get a bit of a taste, get a bit of a feel for, this is the potential environment that I want to be in. Do I like it? Do I want to continue studying? Like, is this for me? Or, did I think that physiotherapy was something else? Because my, I guess, expectation of physiotherapy was different from university to actual practice. What I thought a physio did, I actually didn't learn much of in my course. So I was a bit disappointed with the training that I'd been given, because I was not equipped after paying 30 odd grand to work as a private practice physio. So one, it would be
that's all you had
mentor
to pay?
and some.
Mate, that physio's a cheap course. Look at this dude getting this cheap course out here.
It's the country, mate. No wonder why I came out shit.
Surprised they didn't pay you, mate.
Oh, I had to pay them to get through, that was for sure.
Ugh.
So that would be my first tip. Second would be go spend some time with a chiropractor, a myotherapist, an osteo. Learn other techniques and learn how other professions work, because the way the industry's heading at the moment, like, it's very, very heavy hands-off exercise based right now. But look, what I'm trying to do is helping sort of reshape the direction, I guess, of physiotherapy in my own world. Like, I want to be known as the manual physio, the physio that puts his hands on people, who actually fucking wears a t-shirt to work and not a long sleeve button up, where he's actually going to like use his elbows on me. He's going to fucking get into me and like needle me, cut me, whatever I need to get me better. So it'd be then getting around other practitioners as well. Just that way you've got a well-rounded knowledge of what you want to do you want to do it, who you might be working with, and to really de-threaten like even the beef between each profession. Like I come out almost completely disliking chiros. I've never been one in my life, but I've been like conditioned, like, fuck those guys, they don't know what they're doing, they're like fucking witch doctors. And then now I'm seeing one every week. Like, I love chiropractic. It's the best. I make sure my clients see one, so I get better results from my clients.
Yeah. It's funny how those like preconceived ideas that are, the old Adam, and it's not necessarily true. I had some amazing teachers, but often that old, those who can't do teach. There's definitely a bit of that in the schools, and they tend to bring with them some kind of anger and bias. Like, I don't know, again, speaking from chiropractic experience, there was crew there that just shat on physio and everything else, which I thought was real weird, especially knowing them. And then like the crew that like try and tell you how you should practice, like how long you should see a client for, what you should do. And you're like, I'm pretty sure you've never done private practice, or pretty sure you've like failed like several times doing it this way. So why are you suggesting it's the best way? Like, those ones where you just
logically that doesn't make sense.
Have to like smile and nod and be like, yeah, I'm 100% not doing that. Like,
you guys just should have been Myo. We're a lot nicer than that.
Oh man, there's like
this egos in our field.
Oh man, it's so much fucking circle.
Maybe because we're still new, we're not recognised nationally yet. Maybe that's why.
Right, it's coming. You guys are gonna get your thing soon.
Well, just a side note, like, Mina, just quickly touch on what happened to you when, like, this is like the beef I was fucking talking about. Like, Mina went to, you'd explain it, Mina, the ballet shit.
Yeah, I went to the.
I'm excited.
I went to the Australian Ballet, and I was kind of looking to see, if I can get a gig there. I thought, I want to expand the different types of, niches that I treat. I thought the ballet is pretty cool. I love the way they can utilize their bodies and whatnot. Anyway, so there's, in-house doctor, sports doctor, biomechanics doctor, a physio, an osteo, myo. There's heaps there, kind of sitting at the table, have a bit of a round table chat. And physio turns around and goes, yeah, look, we need more physios here because, you guys just, you just massage. That's all it is. That's what you guys do. You just massage. But for us, we've got to get them back, and everything that we do is all result-based and evidence-based. I'm turning around and go, oh, shit, I definitely don't want to work here.
Yeah.
And it really just put me off straight away. And I started to have to go down. I'm like, all your studies are theory-based, yeah? And I started to get into this argument, which I always said to myself, never do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
don't put down
You're
other
not like
therapists.
that.
And I'm a massive advocate of that, because I'm not a chiro and I'm not a physio. How can I bag something I actually don't know? And this is
right.
kind of what I said to him. I said to him, look, mate, everyone actually wants what a Myo does, but everyone doesn't know when a Myo does it. You know, I go, you know what? I'm stopping this
100%.
conversation right here, and I'm good. I'm done. You know,
It's because, it's a pretty fucking dog way to treat someone, because it comes down to, that's a personal problem, because that dude obviously has some insecurities and some emotional projections that he's putting on you, like, and obviously is uneducated on what you do as well. So,
well, that's the biggest thing. People don't want to know what other people do. It's the biggest problem I've seen in my years. They're like, "Oh, you must do this." I was like, "I actually do nothing like that." Like, and they're like, "I think," and Ben, you'll probably confirm this for my suspicion. Something I've seen. Well, I think he's still there. He's just lost his picture. But I've seen huge issues, particularly in Australia, with professional sports teams. What it seems to be with me, like when it's always usually physiotherapy, but it seems to be like, let's say I'm in Geelong, the Geelong Cats. I mean, assume they have a senior physiotherapist. In fact, I know they do. But the majority of the rest of their crew are new graduates, straight out. And why? From what I've seen, because they don't have to pay them very much.
Correct.
And I've got friends that are physios across Geelong, like we work together religiously, and they'll say they'll commonly like look after crew from the Geelong Cats, and they either have to, because they're coming in to do some training with them, they either are not allowed to do any kind of diagnosis or things like that if they want to look after them, or the players have to not tell the club that they're seeing this person, because otherwise the club gets really mad. And the problem is, like, some of the advice is, you're just like, I remember them telling me, I was just like, what does that even mean? But it's because you've got, and again, people have to learn and do these things, but they're just getting taken a ride for, so they can say later on that I was, that's why and again, sorry to pick on your profession here, mate, nothing against it, but like every time one of my friends is like, oh, I'm seeing the Geelong Cats physio, or I'm seeing the Western Bulldogs physio, I was like, yeah, they were there like 10 years ago, like for a few minutes. Like, like this is the problem with professional sport. They want it, but they don't want to pay for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I was like, you have more money than most people, man.
Well, it comes down to, like, obviously conditioning and entitlement from the person. Yeah. Obviously, if you are someone, if you've had physio at your fingertips, you've had massage at your fingertips, the doctors at your fingertips, like because you're basically property of the club, you've got to follow what's in the contract, because they don't want to make sure you can play and not get potentially injured.
Yeah, but they want continuity of care, which I get, but you have to. Like, the problem is they're picking on crew that haven't got confidence yet to know what they're worth.
Yeah,
and so they're just following. This is why this is where I think we see these early returns to play, because the practitioner's hamstrung by the idea that the club's paying them, and they're putting people back out there that aren't ready to go.
Oh yeah, it's very easy to see. Like, I've worked with a few ex AFL players. I mean, their bodies are fucked. Like, I work with a dude who's like late 40s, and he's had that many surgeries. Like, his joints are that cooked. Like, he's getting injections like during training, like cortisone and
you're only meant to get like
just to get him through
2 to 3 in any particular area in your lifetime, and I've seen crew getting them every few weeks. Like, crazy. Like, but again, it's the difference between health and performance. There's definitely a line where elite performance lets go of health, but that's a conversation for a different day. Let's before we wind things in, there's something I'd be really interested in. I'd be interested to hear from both of you. And I'll let you know my profession stat shortly, but do you know your dropout rate stat for your profession? So of someone that graduates to become a myo and a physio, what percentage of people are still working in that profession 5 years later?
I looked this up the other, like a few months ago. I'm going to look it up right now. So I don't know just yet. Let me look it out.
What about you there,
Amina?
So I actually had this conversation with my old college because I still keep a close relationship because anyone that needs therapist, I just link into her. I go, send her an email.
Awesome.
She'll be able to send you any new therapist. So I asked her the question, I go, how many of your old clients, old students still do it? She goes, maybe 4 out of 10.
That's 40%.
And
High.
a lot of them fear 3 things. They fear the physical workload on their hands. They get told, oh, you know, you're going to get your carpal tunnels and your tendon stabilizers and all this sort of thing. A lot of them are too scared to work for themselves in terms of building the business because you don't kind of get that sort of training. That sort of training you've got to source out elsewhere, you know. And the other big thing is they think it's quite long hours. You know, when you're you know, when you're kind of as a subcontractor, they fear like, no, I don't want to do that. But really,
it's fear,
if you
right? They strike
together.
They strike fucking fear into you.
What about you, Benny? Do you got your stats?
Just looked up a stat from the physiotherapy workforce, something. 2% attrition rate in the first 12 months, 27% within 5 years. Which means like dropout, right? Attrition.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, we're about the same. We're like 1 in every 5, basically.
Fucking high, man. That's like one.
So across professions, you know, like you look at this, it's between 20 and 40% over 5 years, which is huge. I mean, especially like we were 5 years of full-time uni, and then boom, like 5 years later, like I know crew that I graduated with that I'm pretty certain have never stepped foot into practice, and that was 6 years ago. Like, and
sad,
I know
isn't it?
a heap that lasted less than a year. And I think a lot of that comes from an unrealistic expectation of what, you know, private practice is like, which we talked about earlier.
What it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about more positives.
Yeah.
What are you thinking future-wise, mate? Tell us what's the future plans? Because this is the good stuff.
So, you guys know I run the company with my 2 brothers, Humphris Health. We're going to go through a rebrand very shortly. So we do personal training, physiotherapy. I'm in the position right now to hire a full-time physio because my workload is pretty cooked and I'm not getting a lot of admin done. So I need someone to help with the demand, which is awesome. But the future for us, we want to run our own, obviously, facility, which will not only be an in-house gym, but practitioner rooms as well. So maybe 5 or 6 rooms. We'll have our own functional fitness area, obviously the gym area, which will, be designed for like the rehab and for members and all that sort of shit. So it's going to be a one-stop sort of, it's going to house our network, I guess, that I currently use under one roof. So people aren't chopping and changing locations to go see their doctor somewhere. They might go see their chiro somewhere else. They might come see their physio somewhere. Because I believe in a team. Like everyone needs a team to look after them because it's really hard to manage someone's problem on your own, unless it's a really easy thing. But most times, look, we can be maximizing the outcomes of our clients a lot better than what we already do. So that's why I utilize a network of teams. So I want to provide a space that is the one-stop shop for our clients, plus then house like a naturopath and a chiropractor and a myotherapist and all that sort of shit under the one roof.
Yeah.
And then the other,
awesome.
Yeah, and that's one branch. And then the other branch is like the education route. So I want to, because as you guys know, I'm a different breed of physio, I guess, than what's out there. So I want to teach, because I'm like a physio myotherapist cross. Thanks to me, a lot of teaching. Thanks, mate. I want to teach physios and other allied health professionals more manual therapy skills because there's a big lack of that, especially in my field. I'm not sure what it's like in osteopathy, but I want to be able to educate others on not only hybridizing you as a practitioner, but delving into teaching different manual therapy methods like dry needling and all that sort of shit. So I've got a course coming up, actually. Red Coral, the dry needling company, approached me. Wants me to run a dry needling course in December, which is really cool.
Awesome.
So education is a route I want to go down. And eventually, I don't think I'll be a physio in the next 10 years. Who knows? Because eventually I want to go hands off and run a big clinic
you know, run
All right.
a few
Stay
businesses.
tuned.
That's the fucking dream.
I love it, man. That's
Well
awesome.
done. Good luck. We'll support you all the way.
Alrighty. Well,
Thank you.
I
Thanks,
think
mate.
we might have to take this one in, ladies and gentlemen. Any final thoughts? Any things we want to say before we sign off for episode 4?
I think that's all our interviews done. Looking forward to the next chapters of this podcast, and I think we're going to create something really cool here. Really, really, really cool.
100%.
Yeah.
Last note would be, like we talked about the attrition rates and the dropout rates. If you are a allied health professional, you are learning how to become fucking physio, chiro, bio, whatever.
Yeah.
To save those, you being another number in that attrition rate and dropout rate, make sure you get your hands on early, you get a mentor early during your studies to make sure that you actually like the industry you work in. And if you don't like it, do yourself a favour and drop out before you finish your course rather than finishing 4 or 5 years of study.
Yeah, there's no shame in admitting it's not for you. There's a lot of things where, and that's totally fine. And people often they're like, I'm just finishing it, so I've got it. Well, if you not want to do it, then go. But if you think you want to do it and you're struggling, reach out, get a mentor, or any one of us here. Slide into those DMs. We're happy to chat and help in any way we can, man.
Happy.
Awesome last point
100%.
there. Awesome podcast as always, boys. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 4, HBI podcast, Health Business in Between. We'll see you next week.
All right.
See you next
Thank
week.
you.
See you, lads.
See you, boy.
Thank you for tuning in to the HBI podcast, Health, Business and In Between. If you learned something today, please grab a screenshot, throw it up on the gram, tag us in it, and if there's any questions, please just reach out. Also, if you can leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast, that really helps us get the message out. As always, stay awesome, and we'll talk to you soon.